Everybody, welcome back to this Tamiya MF-01X Ford Escort Mk.II Rally Kit series. Today we're going to put together the monocoque chassis. So the MF-01X chassis actually can be built into three wheelbases: 210, 225, and 239 millimeter. In our particular kit, the Ford Escort Mk.II, the wheelbase, as it shows on the side of the box, is actually the L. 239 millimeter. So we're going to be following page 13 right here on this right side. So let's get started. So this isn't the only Tamiya chassis that can be built into different wheelbases. The TT-02 would be a great example of a Tamiya chassis that can be built into different wheelbases. For the TT-02 and other chassis like it, it changes the wheelbase by flipping the suspension arms. In the MF-01X chassis, it changes the wheelbase by adding the center spacers. So this portion of the center chassis is universal to all three wheelbase sizes, where this width spacer is for the 239 millimeter. This would be for the 225 millimeter right here. And if you were building the 210 millimeter, you actually don't have a spacer at all. So besides the Ford Escort Mk.II body, the Volkswagen Beetle Rally body is also 239 as well, where the Suzuki Jimny body is the 25 millimeter. Tamiya currently doesn't make a kit that is in the 210 millimeter wheelbase, but if you wanted to use a mini body on this chassis, you can configure it to the 210 millimeter. All right, enough about that. Let's start putting it together. So you can see we're going to need 16 of these BA6 screws. And we're going to start by putting together the center spacer. Well, as you can see, the center body is actually made of 4 pieces. I'm going to put together the front first, which is going to be B10 and B11. So it's real simple. They just go together like this. And then 2 screws on the side here. And now we're going to wrap the back spacer around it like this and like that. So I'm going to put 1 screw here and 1 screw there just to lock everything in first. Okay, pretty much this is already locked in. Now I can put the other 2 screws. And 1 on this side. When you're done, it should look something like this. Perfect. All right, now we're going to take the remainder of the screws and put the front and the rear together. It actually goes together like this. And we just need to put screws on both sides. Okay. It's really important that all these screws are very tight because it affects the stiffness of the chassis. And now we're done building the center frame of the chassis. Now it's time to put together the propeller shaft. All right, here's everything we need to build the propeller shaft. We need the shaft itself. These 4 rings here are spacers. They came off of the B-tree. They're B2s. I have 2 flange bearings right here and 2 that are regular ball bearings. I have 2 pins And I have the 2 gears, which is G2. I have shoe goo and I have some grease right here. Before we get started, let's take a look at the chassis itself and see where the propeller shaft is going to go. It's going to help us put this together. So as you can see, one end of the propeller shaft is going to be here and the other one over here. On this side, this is the front of the chassis. We're going to need one regular ball bearing here, and the flange bearing will go on this side with the flange facing the other bearing. And then it's opposite on the back of the chassis. You can see the flange bearing is going to be right here, and the regular bearing is going to be right there. All right. And these B2s have a profile to them. And the manual says they need the smaller part needs to face the bearing. So that's what I'm going to do. That goes in first. And then the flange bearing is going to go like that. Then I'm going to put a little bit of shoe goo onto the shaft, the little pin here. Just like that. And then the gear will go on like that. And then the other bearing will go on. No, I'm sorry, the other side will go on first. The other B2 will go on first, and then the bearing. And then on the opposite side, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Now let's see if we did it right. Let's set this inside. And we're just going to drop it in. This is going to be a problem. Maybe it's because I'm using ball bearings or some other reason, but it looks like this B2 gray ring needs to be on the inside of that bearing. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, that looks much better. I think this is the correct way if you're using ball bearings. Both sides are seated perfectly, and they're spinning without any problems. Okay, so let's put the covers on and lock it in. Okay, and to secure the propeller shaft, we're going to need these 2 covers. They're A6, and we need 4 of those BA6 screws. Before we close it up, I'm going to put a little grease on this gear right here. And all it is a cover that we lock in with the screw. Yep, the shaft spins freely and it's looking good. So that's it for today's video. We first put together the entire chassis, so it's full length now at 239 millimeters. Then we built and installed the propeller shaft. Thanks for watching this video. If you got anything out of it, please drop a like. subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.